What do you know about P.T. Barnum? Like from The Greatest Showman? That's the one. Well, he helped unique people accept themselves. Continue. He looked like Hugh Jackman. P.T. Barnum was born in 1810 to the innkeeper Filio Barnum and was heavily influenced by his grandfather, who among other things was a lottery schemer. After doing several jobs, which included being a book auctioneer and a statewide lottery runner of all things, he eventually started a newspaper called the Herald of Freedom, which ended up getting him arrested 3 times for libel. Because, like, guys, come on, what else would you expect? But after publishing 160 issues of the Herald of Freedom, he gave the paper to his brother-in-law and moved to New York, where he would become what he became most known for, a showman. And his first showman venture included using a legal loophole in New York law to buy a blind and paralyzed old slave woman named Joyce Heath for $1,000, forcing her to work 10 to 12-hour workdays. He claimed she was 161 years old and that she was the nurse of George Washington. He also allegedly removed all of her teeth and allegedly fed her a diet of nothing but whiskey and eggs to make her look older. But for people who could pass for being 161 years old tend to do, Joyce died. And what do you think Barnum ended up doing with her body? A. Cremating her. B. Respectfully burying her. Or C. Returning her to her family. Well, if you chose D. Selling tickets to her autopsy at the local saloon, you'd be correct. But 1,500 people ended up showing, and believe it or not, she was only 80. Not 161 years old. When a surgeon performing the autopsy revealed this, Barnum proceeded to claim that the body being autopsied was a different woman and that Joyce was alive and actually touring Europe. So guys, you know the dead person I brought you all here to see? Well, they're actually alive and this is just some random person. Using the money he got from Joyce, he purchased Scudder's American Museum in 1841 and renamed it the Barnum's American Museum. By getting rid of the stuffed animals and replacing them with human and hoax exhibits, he managed to make the museum greatly increase in popularity, even getting a giant lighthouse lamp to attract people. Barnum's first major hoax was the Fiji mermaid, which was a cursed monkey-fish hybrid he claimed to find. Barnum would come to justify this hoax and the many other hoaxes he would perpetrate by basically saying he likes keeping the public entertained more than he dislikes lying to them. Barnum would follow up the mermaid stunt by hiring a 4-year-old child actor with dwarfism named Charles Stratton to act as famous figures under the name of General Tom Thumb. Barnum toured all over Europe with General Thumb, even getting to meet Queen Victoria with him. While there, Barnum heard of singer Jenny Lind, who was known as the Swedish Nightingale. Despite never having heard her sing before, or even having seen her before, he risked the majority of his fortune to send her on tour. The tour ended up becoming a massive success, earning him $500,000 and making him even more famous. So as famous people tend to do, he wrote his autobiography and published it in 1584, selling 1 million copies. While Mark Twain loved the book, the British Examiner said it was, quote, trashy, offensive, and inspired, quote, nothing but disgust, also saying that they had, quote, sincere pity for the wretched man who compiled it. But after heavily investing in the Jerome Clock Company of all things, Barnum went bankrupt and lost everything, with detractor Ralph Waldo Emerson declaring that his downfall showed, quote, the gods visible again. Like, imagine one day you get hit by a car and people are like, God's real. But by sending Tom Thumb back to Europe and by going on a lecture tour about temperance, Barnum was able to get off debt, buy his museum back, and build himself a new mansion. After getting his stuff back, Barnum would go on to make America's first aquarium, as well as replacing General Thumb with Commodore Nutt, who he ended up visiting good old Abe Lincoln with. Speaking of which, during the Civil War, Barnum put up several pro-Union exhibits, which in turn caused a Confederate sympathizer to set fire to his museum in 1864. After that, his museum would burn down 2 more times in 1865 and 1868 respectively, and this caused him to give up on museums, and at the age of 60 years old in 1870, he started the first circus. The main attraction of the show was an African elephant purchased from the London Zoo named Jimbo, and the show also contained similar acts to the museum like freak shows and acrobats, but despite several train wrecks, fires, and other accidents, the show became very successful. Outside of the showbiz though, Barnum also had a career in politics. At first he was a Democrat, but then became Republican due to being very anti-slavery, which is ironic because, you know, he owned slaves himself. In his time in politics, he served as the mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and even ran for Congress in 1867, where he lost to a distant relative with the same last name. Barnum also engaged in what he deemed as profitable philanthropy, which is kind of like owning a vegan steakhouse. Like, I'm sure it could be good, but kind of misses proves the point. But jokes aside, he actually managed to do some good stuff, like donating so much money to Tufts University that they made Jumbo the elephant the school mascot, and to this day they are known as Jumbos. But after a long and storied career in the show business, and a career in politics, P.T. Barnum fell gravely ill at the age of 81, and at the request of a New York newspaper, he published his obituary early so he could enjoy it, eventually dying of a stroke shortly thereafter. And that, kids, is why it says The Greatest Showman is only loosely based on Barnum and his circus on Wikipedia. Also, do you know they're planning to make a sequel? What the fuck?